Hello, everyone. Welcome back. It's been so long, Kels.
It's been
How
a
you
minute.
doing? It's been quite a minute. How you doing,
I
Kels?
I've been good. I've been really busy.
Mhm.
Obviously, that's why we're not uploading as much this year. Dylan and I both have a lot going on.
Yeah, this is
Um,
the year of us of like us figuring out our own lives, and then this will always be here, but
yes,
we're taking
yes.
big boys and girls steps into the world. So we are
Yeah.
here though. We are here to entertain you all.
Yes, absolutely. And it's been a really interesting year so far, Marvel wise. Um, I can't even remember. I guess I'm like, what is even the first thing we talked about this year?
Well, we did What If season 3, which was kind of like the end of last year,
Last year,
and
yeah.
last year ended with Craven as well, so it kind of crept into January. Um,
Right.
and then this year, I mean, we had the big Doomsday announcement, which we covered last time.
Yes,
Plus,
yes.
I mean, this series that we're going to start covering today. Plus, we've got a new movie coming out this week that is probably already out by the time people are hearing this, that we'll be covering next episode. And then another movie coming out in 2 months. So, like, we're in
Yeah.
the crux of it. Like, this is busy Marvel season. This is great, a great time for me to like start a new job on the open waters of the Caribbean or Caribbean or however you want to pronounce it. But I'm in a bathroom right now because it's also playoff season, and the hockey arena that I live over is very loud and very rowdy right now, reasonably so. The Maple Leafs are rocking it, but I figured, you know what, I'll take it to the bathroom, maybe a little echo, but it's much quieter and much more sane for my brain to be here. So
Yeah.
Kels, how's your life been though? Fun things happening?
Fun things are happening. If you can't tell, I've lost a little bit of my voice, a little raspy this episode just because I just got back from my first bachelorette trip ever.
Ooh, very fun.
Yeah, so lots of singing and dancing and yelling and just excitedly being like, "She's getting married."
Mhm.
Not me, my cousin. I am not getting married.
Yes.
Um
You don't have to disclose the location, but was it more of like a beachy vibe or a casino-y vibe or like a
Well, we
what?
definitely went somewhere warm. We were down in Florida.
Okay.
And but it wasn't beaches, but we did have a boat day.
A
There was
little
a pool.
clubby.
Yeah, a little like bar scene with like dance floors and live music.
Very cool.
It was very, very fun.
Nice. Yeah, I've just been rehearsing in Toronto, but like this will probably be you'll probably get like a 2 or 3 more episodes of me here, even though I will be on the boat by the time y'all might be hearing this. Even we leave very soon, but it's been fun to just kind of adjust to life in a brand new country. I got to go and witness the election in Canada as as a part-time citizen, and then now I'm leaving, so I sadly don't get to see the hopefully positive repercussions of it. But I love
Wow.
being a Canadian for a few months. I'm gonna miss it. I'm gonna miss it. I'm gonna be sad to go back to great old state of Florida.
Yeah, yeah.
Because their government's great. But a great tourist destination though. That's why we do what we do.
Yeah, yeah.
As you just were there as well. Well, Kels, any Marvel news to cover? I think, I mean, the Doomsday thing was huge, which we covered weeks ago, but anything
Doomsday
else?
was pretty good. I haven't heard anything that shocking recently. There's just been a lot of buildup and anticipation for Thunderbolts that's coming out this week. So
Good stuff I've heard so far, at least
yeah.
the positive rumblings, but
Wait, Dill, I'm just remembering right now. I had a dream, I think last night, where we went and saw Thunderbolts together, and
aw.
it was for some reason like the longest Marvel movie ever. Like it was
Mm.
just like it was like a 4-hour film.
Gotcha. Let's see the actual runtime, just to see how it compares to your dreams. So Thunderbolts is currently clocking in at 2 hours and 6 minutes, so we don't have to worry.
Okay, good, good, good. Because I remember it being good, and I remember liked what we were watching, but I just remember being like, "Oh my god, is this scene over yet?" They've been talking about this for
Yeah.
like 28 minutes now. But
Wow.
anyway,
Anyway, I hope it doesn't feel that long. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe it's just a movie that's paced badly and it feels 4 hours. We'll see. We'll find out. Next episode will be our Thunderbolts review, and then we'll be back in a few weeks. We're doing 2 a month. So this is our first May episode. Our second May episode will be Thunderbolts. Then in June, we'll cover the end of Daredevil Born Again. And we'll be finishing with 6 through, or sorry, 4 through 6, and then 7 through 9. We're taking our time with the series, also because we need time to fill because I'm going to be on a boat. And the first few months, I don't want to have to record a lot, so this is kind of just us banking stuff before I go.
Yeah.
It's also a series I want to kind of sit with a little. I don't want to rush through it. I mean, it was great to watch season 3. That was our last episode we did, but we watched a whole series in a week, a season in a week. So it's going to be nice to kind of just like take this a chunk at a time. Because also, I feel like this 3 episode arc kind of was its own contained story in a way, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But Kelsey, we have to start off just talking a little bit about the behind the scenes production because it kind of trickles into what I'm sure you want to bring up about the start of this series or the season, I guess, kind of a
Yeah.
series. And I think that's kind of the first identity crisis we have to kind of tackle: is it a reboot? Is it a sequel?
Mm.
It is continuity wise a continuation of the last story, but it really doesn't have anything to do with it. It's more so like this is Matt Murdock and this is Kingpin, but like this is a new arc, new story, brand new set of supporting characters. And I kind of read about like the production of it. I don't know if you did as well, but it was supposed to be like a longer, like 18 episode series, and every episode was supposed to be shorter and kind of its oown contained story, kind of like She-Hulk, where every episode's a different mission, a different case, a different thing. It wasn't kind of one overarching story per se, and the tone was a little bit more MCU light. And I think as they went along, when the strikes happened, they were
Mm.
looking at it and they were like, this doesn't work.
Mm.
What happened was Foggy and Karen didn't come back at all. Punisher, what's his name, John Bernthal, was basically like, I hate what they're doing with the character. He walked from the project, and then they were like, you know what? Let's regroup. Let's rethink about this. And then they came up with a pseudo continuative narrative where they decided to try to string together a few more overarching serialized storylines, make it more of a season of television rather than just a bunch of episodes of Daredevil, and trying to at least try a little bit more to connect it to the Netflix tone and the Netflix storytelling while still keeping what they had already shot in terms of the MCU of it all. And then when they did some reshoots, that's when they brought Karen and Foggy back in. That's when they brought Punisher in, which we'll see soon, I assume, based on the end of
Mm.
the 3rd episode. These are spoiler reviews, but you guys have probably already finished the series. We're only on episode 3, though, so don't give us any spoilers for 4, 5, or 6 down below. We're going to cover that next time, but that's kind of the basis of the background of the series, though. It definitely went through a ton of rewrites. It went down to 2 seasons. It was going to be one big season. Now it's 2 smaller seasons. So we are going to get a season 2, but very different. And you can kind of see it a little bit, in times you're like, oh, that feels a little more MCU. That feels a little more Netflix. We will talk about the Karen and Foggy stuff because that does feel very much tacked on just for the continuity's sake. And it almost makes you wonder if they should have even done it at all. But also just the way the storytelling is. I mean, we're finally done with this chapter that I thought was going to be the season. So it really does kind of at least still feel a little episodic in the fact that like we're already done with the White Tiger storyline. And like I thought that was what the story was going to be of the season. So it's very interesting to just kind of see this kind of different Daredevil, because I feel like each season has kind of had an overarching story. Here it feels like it's going to be a little bit more episodic, if you will. But Kelsey, anything comment on that before we like segue into the show itself? Like, does that inform any of your thoughts on it? Like, do you get that feeling that it was kind of reworked a little bit and some things were tacked on later in the game, or do you feel like this is a pretty seamless go so far?
Well, I remember you saying something before we started watching the show that Elder Henson, what's
Mm,
his name? The guy who plays Foggy, you had
yeah,
mentioned that he was not interested in coming back
no.
to reprise the role, which I'm like so curious as to like why? Like
Yeah.
why?
I think it was just good. I think it's a thing where it's like you did a role for 3 years on the show and you're
Mm,
like, you're ready to put it up. I mean, it's the same thing with like Scarlett Johansson with Black Widow. She's like, I did my time. I'm happy with it, but like I'm ready to move on. And I think that's the thing is he didn't
sure.
want to just be Foggy.
Yeah, that's true, but I don't know. I guess I'm like, my opinion's kind of biased right now because as an actor who would very much like a job, I'm like, you're an actor. Why not? Why don't you want this job? You
Right.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway, so it's I it didn't feel very it definitely feels like a cohesive like thought. Like if you told me that this was the direction that they wanted it to go from the beginning, I definitely would believe you. I think that obviously like the first 10 minutes of the first episode feels kind of jumpy and like they were trying to tack on, oh, this is where we left off from from Netflix season 3, so we're gonna like tie up all those loose ends and then move forward, and then now it's our own thing. Where I just kind of wish they started just fresh, doing their own thing. I think that's the only part of it that I didn't necessarily love. I think that this tone and the vibe and how it's shot and edited and the very smoky streets of New York City, there's a lot of smoke in these shots, is not what's bothering me, because I love how it feels like the MCU, but it also feels like they're its own living, breathing, mini little universe that they have going on. Um, there's a lot that I like about it. It's really the first 10 minutes that I have to complain about. Oh, I can't hear you, Joe. 1 second. He's gonna replug in his microphone or something. But what I will say, I did text Dill. Well, Dill texted me actually. He's giving me a 1 second. He's gonna be right back. So Dill actually had texted me. He was trying to catch me before I watched the episode by myself. And he said, "Don't watch if you're gonna watch the first 10 minutes of episode 1. Record yourself doing it because it'll make a great TikTok." Unfortunately for him, I had seen his message 10 minutes too late.
You're right. You can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Sorry. Yeah, I was going to tell you, explain your frustration with the first 10 minutes, even though you kind of already touched on it. But
Well, I was talking about how you had texted me and wanted to film my reaction to it because
oh
you
yeah, I
wanted
wanted
to
your
put it on the
reaction so
TikTok.
bad. I wanted it so
I
bad.
I think my reaction, I'll reenact it for you. It was just like this. And then
Mhm.
I kept saying, "Where's the ambulance? Like, where's the paramedics? Like, they need to, she needs to hold pressure on the wound." And like, and then when the ambulance finally showed up, I was like, "Okay, maybe they can resuscitate him in the field. Like, let's get this going." I was being real in denial
Yeah,
about it.
yeah.
So, if you haven't caught on, what we are alluding to is the fact that in the first 10 minutes, Foggy gets shot and dies. Karen tries to save him best as she can. Meanwhile, Matt is fighting with Dex from season 3, agent, FBI agent Poindexter,
Mhm.
actually ends up throwing him off the roof. He has been enhanced now. We did see that at the very end of season 3, that because now he has been enhanced with his
Yes.
spine, that he just can regenerate, same as Wolverine, and he just gets back on his feet after taking that brutal fall. He seemingly landed right on his head.
Somehow. Yeah.
And okay, and my problem isn't just that. Obviously, this is the second time I've watched a show recently where they have killed off a seemingly very important character. I will not
I
name
know
the
which
other
one you're. I know which one you're talking about, and if anyone's not living under a rock, we will, or anyone is living under a rock, we will not say which one it is. But
Yeah, no.
HBO, or we're talking HBO.
HBO.
Yeah, and you
Both
didn't
they
know?
no,
You
I had
didn't?
no
Oh,
idea.
okay, okay.
No idea. I was like, okay, so I'm like problematic, right? Because I watched now this happen to Foggy. And the first
Hmm.
thing I did was, I don't believe it. I call bullshit. I went straight to IMDb because I'm like, how many episodes is he going to be showing up in? Apparently, it's 2. So maybe we see him again. Maybe that's a
Flashback.
mistake. Who
Yeah,
knows?
yeah,
A
yeah.
flashback. Yeah, probably.
Or he might have been
Um,
credited because I think the first 2 episodes came out on the same night. I wonder if they credited him for
mm,
both as to not spoil the first one, so
oh,
he's credited in the second one. I don't wanna
okay,
give you that
maybe.
hope though, because he's in the previously on of the second one. I wonder if they counted it and was like,
Oh,
"We'll just put him in there, that way people, don't read into it like you did, but now you're
yeah.
reading into it after the fact, so you kind of reading back on it, I guess." I don't know. Yeah.
my, my problem is that they took away this like beloved character. I was ready to watch the 3 of them get back into it.
Yeah.
My problem was is that they set up the show as if that's what it was going to be in this first 10 minutes. They
Mm,
showed us the Nelson Murdoch and Page sign. We were back at Josie's. We were reminiscing about everything that changed about Hell's Kitchen. We were buddy buddy. We were about to be back. The trio was about to be back stronger, better than ever. Then all of a sudden they turn the whole thing on its head. They kill off Foggy. Karen is apparently out of the picture. They are not on speaking terms. Their friendship is busted ever since this
Yeah.
happened. And now we're 1 year later. Dex gets thrown in the clink, and now it's a whole new show.
Mhm.
Whereas if you wanted Foggy's death to be the catalyst for why Matt is the way he is and why this show is going to be very tonally different and how things are different now, we could have just started with like the opening scene being them at Foggy's like funeral together. We didn't need the whole like build up to it because
Mhm.
it made me so excited. I literally wrote down, I was like, that was such a tease because they showed us the Nelson Murdoch and Paige. Like, I was ready to get like right back in it to where we left off, like, especially coming off fresh from season 3. I was so
Yeah, because we
ready
had
to
just
get
watched season 3, yeah.
exactly. I was so ready to get back into it. And then they pulled the rug right from underneath my feet and they knocked the wind out of my sails.
Yeah. The problem I have with it is that it almost feels like they're doing it as like a, "Hey, this ain't your mama's Daredevil. This is a new
Mm,
Daredevil." But
okay.
I'm also like, "No, no, no. This is the Disney-fied version. This is a lighter Daredevil." Not to say it's not dark, but like the action sequences are very much more CGI heavy, which we'll talk
Mm,
about later. That was a problem I have with it. It's not as bloody, as gruesome. Just it's just not. Also, I
yeah.
think the characters, I mean, Fisk himself is a little bit lighter. We're not seeing the like hardcore Fisk. Like he's still evil and stuff, but like it's a different style. Even Daredevil, like his storyline, he doesn't feel as tortured and as brooding as normal, which is
Mm,
weird because you would think if this is going to be this big catalyst, you would think it would be like felt through every scene of every episode of every season in a way that a lot of the previous seasons arcs have been, where these characters kind of feel these things. I mean, look at Karen in the last season, like every episode, every season, every scene, it was just like you felt that deep like pain with that character. And I feel like the problem is like this scene, if the rest of the series, and as far as we know, it could be. We've only seen 3 episodes, but I feel like they've only really mentioned Foggy briefly afterward, and it was one to get Karen out of there, two
mm,
to just have this like moment, this cute little moment at dinner. But even then, it was a very sweet moment at dinner where they like cheers to Foggy Nelson. It's not like this like really dark moment for Matt. If anything,
mhm,
I feel like Matt, it's like a new beginning for him, and that's what the series is. It's a more new beginning. You're joining the MCU, so it's going to be a little lighter in tone. But like the first scene doesn't set that up to be that case, to where it does feel just that. That's kind of what I was talking about earlier, where I'm like, that's the Netflix thing that they really wanted to be Netflix, but now they're Disney. So like this is what it was going to be, but we need to give the continuity. So the only thing we can do is kill them off. But you did
mm,
so in such a gruesome way. That I feel like it's just not setting it up for what the tone of the show is going to be. If anything, I feel like it promises something a lot darker and more sorrowful than what we actually have been getting, which is still dark. It's still Daredevil, but compared to the other 3 Daredevil seasons, this is the lightest so far of the 4 seasons. So I'm hoping it gets darker and Foggy's death is more felt, but it really just felt like a sake to have an excuse to get rid of the characters and not explain why they're not there, because the actors either didn't want to do it or they didn't want it to feel too married to Netflix, so they wanted to just move on to a newer beginning. You know what? Have them, and also the thing is, he's not married anymore. He's like hitting on girls in bars. Like, did we just miss that part of it too? And it's
yeah,
like little
yeah,
things, and even him standing outside, I was like, just go back inside. Like, I just felt like it was too. It felt too shoehorned. It felt too like I don't even know the word. Like convenient in a way. It was like
yeah, yeah.
he wouldn't have died in that situation. He wouldn't have
Like,
just stood out there standing waiting. He would have probably either gone inside or like I don't know. It just felt weird that he was just kind of standing on his phone. He's like, what? It's almost like a
yeah,
different Foggy. It just felt like it was just there to explain why they wouldn't be in the show. And in that case, just say, do the Scream thing with Nev Campbell for the most recent Scream movie, where she's happily married and doesn't want a part of this town anymore. That's a
yeah,
reasonable. I would believe it.
yeah, yeah,
And it also doesn't feel right because like this is post Echo, post She Hulk, and like I just don't think the Matt Murdock we saw in She-Hulk is the Matt Murdock we're seeing here. It's a continuity thing. And I know the MCU is like giving up on continuity at this point in a lot of regards, but like
yeah.
those little things bother me. Even his eye, they make a comment about his eye, but like, did his eye really heal that much? You can't even see a scar. It
Mm,
reminds me of certain someone in office now, but you know what I mean? Like, it's like you just got wounded. Like, you're not going to even have a scar there. And instead it becomes like
yeah.
this brush away, like MCU joke of like, oh, I heard that girl shot you through the eye. And he's like, like, I don't know. It
Mm,
just felt like the transitionary material in this first episode I felt was lacking. Like, I feel like the core story is there. It's just trying to make it a continuation of the previous series, I think, hurt it. When in actuality, I think if they just started fresh, you don't even need to explain it. Just Foggy and Karen are there, and fans are gonna be like, "Oh, that sucks," but at least. I think this is much worse than it's kind of like sorry, I'm on my tangent, but like it's kind of
No,
like
yeah.
Awake, where it's like you want the closure like at Awake to like see the person to know like they're at peace and they passed away, but it's also like that's your last memory of them.
Mhm.
Visually is that them in that coffin. It's like an open casket wake. It's horrible, but it's also like a lot of people need that as closure. It's like this feels like that, where it's like yeah, you gave me the taste of Foggy and Karen, but like at what cost? Now that's all I'm going to remember of them is this really terrible scene,
Yeah.
But shock value, it worked, I guess. That's the pro to it, I guess. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was my
Yeah.
soapbox.
No, no,
That's the
no.
last rant I'll have because everything else I like about the series. But that was.
No, you're so right, Dale. I agree with you. I would have completely I would have what's the word I'm looking for? I would have felt better about it if they had just not been a part of it at all, rather than them giving us a taste of it and then killing one off and then having one just like disappear. You know what I mean?
If Foggy turns out to have somehow survived, or like Karen comes back into it, like, are you going to be a little bit more
Yeah.
forgiving, or is it like one of those things where it's like
Well,
still
I
no?
don't think he can come back because I think they like he's
I mean, like Loki, like you can have like a multiversal, like that's the thing. It's like one of those things
yeah,
where
but
would that be cheap?
I don't know. It just feels like Daredevil is like so grounded in reality that I don't think that any of these fantastical things like even happen in this
Mm,
subsection of the MCU. You know what
right.
I mean? Like it
No,
would
that's
feel
fair.
weird if like Thor just like blasted in from like the Bifrost or the you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
that would just feel like insane to do in like
yeah.
this kind of show.
I'm just theoretically thinking like maybe they are setting something up down the road for Foggy and Karen, or at least Karen maybe, and like this is just like we need to explain where they are now. We'll get back to them later type deal.
Hmm.
Maybe like the end of and again we haven't seen it, but maybe like the last episode of the show, the final shot is Karen coming back, or something
Yeah.
like that. But I don't know. I think if they were to go back to it, maybe I'd be more forgiving. But right now, if this is it for Karen and obviously Foggy, I'm just like that's a bummer, and not in like the way it
Yeah.
is in the show. Like sad, it's sad, but it's like a bummer that that's the storytelling they went with.
I did look on IMDb to see how many Karen was going to be showing up in. So I do know the number if you want to know it as well.
I mean, no. Let's just say no, just in case. In
Okay.
case it's like 6 or 7, then I'm like, oh, okay. So she'll be right back.
Yeah.
But okay.
Um
What
okay,
else,
so
Kels? Yeah,
all right. So oh, and another character that I'm going to miss that I was so excited to actually see again was Dex. And now all of a
yeah.
sudden it's just like now he's just in jail and
Yeah,
like
I think that's it for him too. That's the thing is I feel
yeah.
like the show wanted to just be like every episode's a new thing, but
Mm,
like someone was like, no, but it has to be Daredevil. We have to bring stuff back. Like we have to have
right.
some
Like
continuity.
but we didn't have to, you know? Like,
Yeah,
we
it's
could
like
have just been like, this is where he's at now, could have
yeah,
explained where Foggy and Karen were
yeah,
in one sentence, exposition,
yeah.
move
It'd
on.
be like if you got to lick a steak and then they're like, but you can't eat it. It's like what the fuck.
Yeah.
Sorry, not to use a red meat. I will say chicken. Sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know you don't.
You know,
But
cows are my favorite animal.
like lick a chicken nugget, but or like you can taste the ketchup, but you can't have the French fry with it. Like
And what I will say, okay, what I will talk about with this first episode, is that the way that it was getting shot and directed and the cinematography of it all, we had that like, a classic. It was very zoomy, lots of zooms in, lots of zooms out. We had that classic, one shot action sequence, fight sequence that happened between Dex and Matt, going through the bar,
mm,
fighting up the stairs, getting to the rooftop. I actually wrote down, I was like, did Adam McKay direct and write this? Because it just felt very like quick and edity, and like things were like getting cut like super quickly, like
yeah.
his kind of style.
I'll tell you right now, I don't like the style. I think well because because like you said earlier, Daredevil's so grounded that when like you're getting all these quick cuts and like the
Mm,
rooftop stuff was all CGI. Like the way he was running, it was very clearly a fake thing, and like him
mm,
jumping and stuff. Like it just didn't seem natural to where like I was watching Dan Murrell's review of the first two episodes, and he basically said he was like, I thought Spider-Man had showed up because of the way Daredevil jumped and landed. It just wasn't a
mm,
natural way that he would. The way he jumped
mhm,
and landed just like seemed like it was almost like a Spidey thing, like almost it had to be like a digital thing. I think that's a problem. Is they're like, oh, it's a newer year we can use all these new technologies, but I'm like, no, go
mm,
back to the grounded, go like one take, let me see it all. Like you don't need to cut, you don't need to break it all up, you don't need to try to be fancy with it. The
yeah,
fanciness is the choreography. That's the show. It's not the editing, it's not the lighting, it's not all that. I do like some of the cinematography choices, especially at the end of the episode, but like the fight in the beginning I was a little underwhelmed, only because like I've seen a great Daredevil fight sequence, and it almost felt like they were like, no, but we'll do it with our new Disney style MCU
mm,
spin. And I'm like, I don't know. I didn't
yeah,
love it. I didn't love it. Yeah, but
yeah, yeah. I just thought I was like, wow, this is a lot different, not just from the past seasons of Daredevil, but just from anything we've seen on Disney Plus so far. Like this just felt very totally different. I think it was, as you've been saying, Jill, their kind of take on like the grittiness and the edginess that
yeah,
Netflix had with this show.
yeah, it's definitely
Um,
grittier than like Hawkeye. Like Kingpin
yeah,
and Hawkeye was a jolly Santa Claus compared to this. Like I like how they're at least dialing it back, but
yeah.
comparatively to Netflix, it's much lighter. Disney Plus, it's much darker. So it's just like this kind of weird hybrid child, you know?
There was some good gore in it's the end of the second episode where he gets into the brawl with the two cops in the
Mm,
apartment where he like broke that guy's arm. He like
yeah,
had his arm over his shoulder and you like saw like the blood go and the bone and the snap. I was like,
yeah.
"Ooh."
Yeah,
Yeah.
it has its moments. Like I'm
Yeah.
not giving, and I think is I do like this series. It's just like this first episode had a lot of issues that I think they resolved a lot in the second episode. That's what I ultimately came around on. Was like second episode was like, okay, now we're finally grooving. Like almost felt
Yeah.
like the first episode was merely there to be like, all right, we got to explain how we got here, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but I like the second episode onward.
The last two things I want to talk about just from the first 10 minutes is the fact that um Matt Murdock does choose in that moment to kill Dex because of the death of Foggy. So we did
Yeah,
see that
we
drastic
know
change.
his line. Yeah,
Yeah. Now it's if you mess with one of my two friends who don't exist anymore in the rest of this show, seemingly, that's when I kill you. Because unbeknownst to him, Dex has the ability to come back to life, but he didn't know that. He was like, I gotta murk this fool right now because he just,
hmm
took away my bestie. And then once that happened, once we saw that Dex hit the street, but Karen didn't know who it was, I gotta say that was my favorite moment in this whole episode where she had just come to terms with the fact that Foggy's heart stopped beating, he's not coming back. And now she's got to look behind her to see if Matt was the one that was just thrown from the roof of this building. And she's just having that very panicky moment of like, no, I can't even look. I don't even want to look. Like, what just happened? And I was like, damn, like she said, okay, fine, I'm only in the first 10 minutes, but I'm going to clock in. I'm on the clock right
Yeah, no,
now.
I mean, and the thing is, she's great, and that's the thing. I don't
Yeah.
want people to be like, well, our fan service, like they didn't get Foggy and Karen for the whole season. Like, why
Hmm.
can't you embrace something new? It's like, no, no, no. I don't want them in the season at all. If this is all you're going to give me, like, either
Yeah.
make it about it. Like, it just felt like they used. It felt like they used them as a plot device, which they did.
Yeah.
And it sucks because I think the two of them are great, especially Deborah. What's her name? Joe, not Deborah Jo Rupp.
Not
That's
Deborah
what-
Jo Rupp.
no, what's her name? Is it Deborah?
Um,
Deborah
it
Ann
is.
Wolf?
Yeah, that's
There you
exactly
go.
what it is. Deborah Ann Wolf.
It's very close to Deborah Jo Rupp though. Like it's the same
Yeah, the
syllable
three names. Yeah.
cadence. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah,
The
what else about episode one? What else do we love? I mean, we haven't
the
even
other
got to Kingpin, but
no, yeah, the other thing I was just about to say, the other things going on in the background of this episode is once we cut to 1 year later, he's working at a new firm with the girl who used to be working at the DA, the guy who's just about to retire from the police force.
yeah.
I think he was retiring. He was a police captain and he was retiring when we met him.
Mhm.
Now is like an investigator for them on the down low for their law firm. And in the background of all of this, we find out what's been going on with Vanessa and Wilson. Now that they're back roaming the streets, being little criminal kingpins and queen pins
Mhm.
together.
Another thing
So
worth noting, the actress who played Vanessa was originally not cast, it was a different actress. So I think they were really trying to be like, "This is a new Daredevil, except we're gonna cast the 2 leads," but everyone else like, they were gonna recast Vanessa, and then I think when they rewrote, they were like, "Well, if we're putting Foggy and Karen back in, let's get the old
mhm,
actress for Vanessa," and, like, that's the thing where I'm like, you clearly didn't want this to be you wanted this to be its own brand new thing, but
mm,
it's also like, you can't part ways with Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio, so it's like you're trying to have your cake and eat it too. It's like, either
right,
commit or
right.
don't, you know? Either
Yeah,
recast everything, it's kind of like what the X-Men are doing now. It's like, wait, so you're just gonna bring back Patrick Stewart and Kelsey Grammer again, or are we going
right,
to a new cast? Like, what's happening?
right.
But it's the MCU. I'm not gonna
Interesting.
ask any questions anymore.
Yeah, so now we see that Kingpin has really taken a back seat to the criminal lifestyle. He's
Yeah,
getting into politics.
she's running the show too.
She's running the show. And so now there's kind of this like divide in this relationship where he's like, okay, it's great that like she sees she's a part of every aspect of my life now. But now she's taken over in this business that I really don't feel comfortable her being in because it's dangerous.
Mhm.
So what and one of the things that I wrote down, Dill, was that I said I'm feeling like I'm getting a lot more depth from the characters. So sorry. I feel like I'm getting a lot more depth from the character of Wilson Fisk
Mhm.
in this series. Like I just feel like he's going through a lot more. He's not just this like scary, brooding guy, one note, monotone, like, nothing against Vincent D'Onofrio. I think he's a wonderful actor, but I just think that what he was given before, especially when it went in the MCU specifically and like
Oh yeah,
the Disney Plus stuff, like it was
yeah.
just very
Echo,
like
Hawkeye, awful.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was just really not landing for me at all. This is a
Mhm.
much better, I feel like, depiction of what's going on because it's interesting how he's got one foot in the political world running for mayor and one foot in the criminal world, trying to keep tabs on his
Yeah.
wife. And I'm digging it. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie.
I was gonna say, I think the best stuff with Kingpin is whenever I'm actually questioning if he's morally, like if his actual intentions are there. Like, a
Yeah,
lot of the times it's obvious, like he's intending to do something bad, but like he puts on this like public rouse, not rouse. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't know.
facade.
Facade, yeah. I don't know what rouse is. But yeah, he puts on this like facade for everyone else, but like
Mhm.
really in this moment, I actually genuinely do wonder if he wants to kind of just like move on and try something new and be a better guy. But then there are moments where I'm like, no, not of course not. And
Yeah.
that's what I like about his performance and his character in this series so far is that there are moments where I do question it. Whereas other series, I'm like, no, you're just a bad guy. But here I'm like actually wondering, especially with the Vanessa thing, I'm like, is there a power dynamic going on? Is there actual moments of genuine human moments with him and especially Matt in the diner, like all the I love
Yeah.
all those moments, so which I think is important. You got to humanize your villains to make them more complex characters,
Mhm.
even if we
Mhm.
don't agree with them.
Yeah, and I think that's why I'm liking this version of him much more because there is those moments, like you said, Jill, of where you feel like, oh, like maybe he is becoming just more of like a decent person. Um, and we hit the ground running with this first episode because by the end of this episode, like not only do we find out that he's running for mayor, seemingly very late, he throws his name in the race.
I was just gonna say a ruse is an action intended to deceive someone or a trick. I was right. I was like, I know I've heard that word somewhere.
Good for you. Oh, a ruse. Yeah, because before you said
But I think
rouse.
I pronounced it rouse because I thought
Yes,
ruse was spelled Rouse. It's Ruse. Sorry. See, I know my
gotcha.
grammar.
See, had you said
Rouse is excitement, like you're
yeah,
aroused.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Had you said ruse, I would have been like, yeah, ruse,
Well, that's what the
absolutely.
word I was trying to find, and then I
Yeah,
spelled it out in my head, Rouse, and I was like, rouse? I'm like, no, that's not right.
no,
So
you're
anyway,
good because
that's my brain.
the word I was looking for earlier was prefer. So we're both. It's late for us. Give us some grace here.
We haven't done this in a month, really. This is
Y-
our first recording. We
Yeah,
literally recorded a month ago. Listen,
we're
we had
rusty.
time.
We're
We had
rusty.
so much time, but it got away from us.
Um, And then, so by the end of this episode, he gets fully elected mayor of New York. So now we have to deal with this guy being at the helm of making decisions for New York City. And it's just, Dill, I see your eyes rolling. It's bringing up a lot of emotions. It's bringing up a lot of emotions that I specifically felt in 2016 and then again in 2024,
Yeah.
if you catch my drift.
Which we talked
Watching,
about when we covered season 3, like the
yeah,
series before, because that came out during that presidency. Now here we are again.
yeah, just like, oh, and it's so gross being on like the inside of it, like watching like Michael Gandolfini's character kind of like trip over himself, trying to like please him and do things for him and worship him and be like, oh, you're the guy that's gonna get stuff done. Like, I can't wait for you.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm like literally inside, like watching like the White House or
Yeah.
something.
Have you
I
seen
hate it.
Sopranos yet, Kels, or no?
No,
Okay, because it's just so
sorry.
fun watching Michael Gandolfini because he looks just so much like his dad, who played Tony Soprano. So it's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
cool to see him like actually being a great actor. I actually love his character. I think it's a cool dynamic because we never
yeah,
seen someone that Fisk respects that young, except for like Maya
right.
Echo. But it's a different relationship, so it's kind of cool to see him like have this power over this kid, but also like I don't know. It's a very interesting dynamic that I don't think
Well,
we've seen before.
yeah, of course. And like this guy's obviously his whole character is going to be like a yes man to him. So of course he would want
Right.
him around. Like,
Right.
oh, the perfect, like I can shape him into whoever I want him to be, a little me, and like he'll do everything that I
Yeah.
say.
And I love that it's literally mini Tony Soprano.
Yeah.
Like they could literally build him to be like the next mob boss, and because that's what Tony Soprano was, you know.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
rest in peace, James Gandolfini. But yeah, really cool. I do love all the stuff with Fisk though. The only thing I'll say, people don't cheer that much in the streets when a mayor is elected.
Right. I don't think like
They don't even do
even
that when the president is. I mean, no, when Biden was elected, that was a crazy fun day in the city. But
right.
I don't know. I don't think people are jumping because I went to the fountains in Washington Square Park the day Biden was elected. Like we were jumping in the fountains, like it's so joyous. I don't think
Yeah,
people are doing
yeah.
that for a mayor elect, especially a conservative one. But I don't.
Right, yeah. Yeah, that was really funny. Their depiction of New York is like so funny as like people who've like lived in New York. It's like
Right.
the streets aren't that smoky. Put the fog machine away.
There are moments though, like in the city where I'll like see like some smoke coming up from like a manhole, and I'm like, I need to take a picture of
Mm.
that because that looks like Daredevil.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But it's
That
very
yeah.
rare. It's not all the time. But I
Yeah,
did love
no.
that final scene with the lighting of it though. With Matt kind of had this
Oh,
red hue,
yeah.
and Fisk was in the light, which usually in cinema, like the hero is shown in the light and the villain comes from the dark. It was cool to kind of see the reversal because who has the
Yeah.
power? It is Fisk. So the fact that Fisk is like
Mhm.
all lit up and in the higher proximity to him, like it's
Mhm.
filmmaking 101, but it's an effective device. Put the villain at the top in the light, and the
Yeah.
hero is in the darkness waiting to take back his, I don't know, glory or whatever. But great final shot.
Another character that we meet in episode 1 is the character of Heather Glenn, who is a therapist.
Love
Um,
this. Love this.
her and Matt end up meeting because through their mutual friend who Matt works with, her name is Janaea. Janaea Walton. No, 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 that's not her. That's the BB girl. That's the BB girl. What's her name? Nikki M. James. Kirsten McDuffie. Yeah, Kirsten McDuffie. Yes, because
There you
it's
go. We got
it's
there.
it's Murdoch and Murdoch. Oh my God, Murdoch and
Murdoch.
McDuffie.
Matt Murdoch. Yeah, yeah, I know.
Matt Murdoch.
He's from
Um.
Minnesota. Matt Murdoch.
So she tells Matt that Heather is looking for legal advice, and she tells Heather that Matt is looking for a therapist. So they meet each other at a coffee shop, realize that they're getting set up, and it works.
What a good meet cute. Like that's such a fun meet cute.
Yeah.
Like because he probably needs a therapist. She probably needs
Right.
like like I love that. Like yeah, I don't know. I love their meet cute, and I love the fact that she's a therapist because it's a Sopranos thing again. It's like this complicates shit when you're in.
Mhm.
You have a therapist who's hearing people's stories, and maybe sometimes these stories are going to connect, and we see that because who sits in front of the therapist in the next episode? Like I love that
Mhm.
dynamic
Mhm.
that already like I already know where it's going from the start, and I love it. I love the fact that she's a therapist and that he's a lawyer because that could get messy, and I want it to get messy because I like her too.
Yeah.
I like them. I think they have good chemistry.
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree. Um, I also just love going back to like the New York comment. Like, I know sometimes their depiction of New York is kind of cartoony, but I love how like the surrounding cast around Charlie Cox like really feels like, it's like very diverse and it feels like representative of what New Yorkers are actually like,
Yeah.
between his two coworkers and meeting Heather. It's just like a very inclusive cast.
And
Um
age too. Age, I think too. Like I feel like a
mhm.
lot of people are a little older because they're a little more rugged, living in their careers. And New
Yeah.
York, it's like the city of never sleep. You're always working, you're grinding hard. Like it's not a lot of young
Yeah.
people. And like Michael Gandolfini is the younger person. There's also the younger reporter girl, but it feels like a
Yeah.
very a variety of age, which I think also helps paint that picture really well. Because a lot of shows nowadays are just all young people, and it's
Yeah.
refreshing to get people who are older and actors that we don't know too getting the chance to have these roles.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely do. Yeah, all TV shows now are just 30-year-olds playing like high schoolers for some reason.
Mhm.
Um, so episode 2, Optics, like you said, Dill. This whole episode is about Matt taking on a new case. He is defending a man by the name Hector Alaya, um, who stops the two police officers in the 168th train station from beating on this guy, and he breaks up the fight. And unfortunately, in the midst of him breaking up the fight, one of the police officers trips and falls into an oncoming subway car and dies.
Is
And
this
now,
is this your number one worst way to die? You think?
oh, well, if it really happens the way that the lawyer describes it to be happening, then yeah,
You
probably.
with the blood and the balloon and shit? Yeah, no. I feel like every
Yeah.
time I think about someone dying via moving subway car, uh, it sounds like the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, no, it sounds pretty terrible. It's
Yeah.
honestly, it is a fear that I have every time I'm in the subway station. So that's why I always stand with my back against a wall, so I know no one can just like come up behind me and go.
Mhm.
Or I stand very close to one of the poles if the wall is not an option, so that I have
Yeah.
something to grab onto if
Yeah.
trouble strikes. I'm always on edge. Don't mess with me. You won't
Note
like
note
it.
to people note to people who see Kelsey in the subway.
Yeah.
Don't you dare.
Don't even think about
Yeah,
it.
but I thought about it. I was like, that's like the top 5 worst way to die. Like that and like drowning and a few other things. But yeah, awful.
Drowning used to be my number one. I will say that I heard it's not that bad because apparently you pass out.
Oh.
You pass out before you actually start taking in water. So you're not even conscious for the dying part.
Oh god. Who lived to tell you the tale? That's what I wanna know.
And no one can tell me that from experience, so I have no idea if that's even true.
Yeah, just
Um,
intuition. I have a feeling.
so Matt is at the police station for some reason, and he overhears one of the police officers kind of roughing Hector up. They're like, "You're going to jail. You're going to sign this confession because you killed the cop, and we hate you now." And Matt's like, "Something doesn't seem right here. I can tell that this guy Hector is telling the truth. He's an innocent man. I'm going to help him." Also, the way that they've chosen to showcase his abilities in this show is much different
Yeah, I really
from
like it. I like it, yeah.
yeah, it was definitely utilized a lot in going back to the first 10 minutes of the first episode. It was utilized a lot in that sequence just because you could kind of like it was cutting and jumping to a bunch of different people talking like around, and like every
Mhm.
now and again you would hear Karen's pleas of like, "No, Foggy, like keep your eyes open, stay with me, like look at me," and like, just cutting back and forth to like hit different things like he can hear. I
Yeah,
will say though, like they really focus on it being about his hearing and not his kind of like echolocation of it all.
yeah.
And I'm hoping that like later on, like maybe once we see him get into more like physical altercations, they'll kind of like show like, vibrations or like a
Yeah.
spidey sense, if you will.
I did wonder if maybe because of the spidey sense is a thing, they're trying to lean more into the hearing thing,
Yeah.
super keen
Because
hearing. Oh, Yeah.
Yeah. It's just it has more his abilities is more than him just being able to hear really well, you know?
Right. Yeah, I mean, he cooks that meal. Maybe that was the reminder of like, no, he's still got it,
Oh,
elsewhere.
yeah, I guess that's
But
true.
yeah, but like I love when he just like takes up the pot lid and just feels it. He's like, good, okay, it's hot, great.
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
tells you nothing.
He's Matt
No, I
Murdock's
love it,
so
but I also
cute.
love it. It raises the stakes too because it's like not only is he trying to fight all this stuff, but he also has like a million voices in his head at all times. He has to filter through them to find the voice he wants. Like, and think about how loud New York City is. It's like it really does kind of put you in that headspace of like shit. Like
Yeah.
he's got a lot more obstacles, which is a lot more of a heavy burden to carry. Yeah.
So the problem is that although Hector is innocent, he does have a secret, and that is he takes on the identity of being White Tiger, who is a vigilante for New York City, doing the same things as Daredevil, but he just really he's very local, helps out his community, jumps in when people need saving.
Mhm.
I did look into who White Tiger was in the comics, and apparently Hector is actually the uncle and the original White Tiger of a girl named Angela Del Toro, who takes on the identity of White Tiger for the majority of the comics. And so
Mm.
they have amulets that grant them access to enhanced strength and agility in the martial arts. Um, and obviously, Matt doesn't want this getting brought up in trial because then that will he'll just see him as like this vigilante violent guy when that's really not the picture that they want to be painting. What they really want is to get the man that Hector had actually saved that day so that he can come be a witness to trial, um to prove that the cops are lying. And obviously this is a very hinky case because no one wants to seem like they're going against the NYPD because they're a big boys club that have each other's backs and do awful things and they're paid entirely too much and they barely do anything. They just stand there on their phones on the subway platforms. I've seen it.
Kels, the cheese balls at the station, they cost a lot of money. That's a
God.
lot of cheese balls, and especially if you eat handfuls a day. I mean, that's a lot of money you need for chease balls. Anyway,
Right,
sorry.
of
I just
course.
remember when they posted the budget for. I just remember how much the cheese balls cost. It was crazy, little cheese puffs, and they're not even that good anyway. I said it. Also, just I need to mention just because
Yeah.
I they do dedicate the episode to him, but Kamar de los Reyes, who plays the White Tiger, sadly passed away from cancer in late 2023. So this was his last on screen role, I believe. He also recently just did the video game Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, where he
Mm,
provided a voice for. But yeah, an actor I was not very familiar with, and sadly will not see a lot more of. But just really sad, but cool that he got such a good prominent feature in these episodes. Even though sadly his character is not long for the long run, but he really brought a great grounded presence. It reminded me a lot of like Isaiah Bradley, where like there's a tortured
yeah.
past, but also like you just want to do the right thing, but society misunderstands you. It's a jaded jaggedness as well, but
Yeah.
just a really warm presence on screen. So rest in peace. Very very sad, but
Oh,
great actor.
that's terrible. I didn't know that. No, he did a really, really great job in this. Meanwhile, with this whole trial that's going on, Heather gets a new client. First, she is approached by a young boy. I would like to know if he comes back anytime soon. It just seems like he really needed a lot of help, and now that he maybe won't receive that help from Heather, now that she took on Wilson, Fisk, and Vanessa to be her new client, maybe he doesn't get enough help and now trouble ensues there. I don't know. I want to know
Mm,
him. What's his
mm.
story? But who also shows up at her little book signing is one of Fisk's henchmen. And we now know it's because he was sussing her out so that he could be a therapist to him and Vanessa, specifically a couple's therapist to help them in their relationship because it's been on the fritz.
Yeah.
Um, this episode ends with that fight sequences that I was mentioning before with the arm break, where Matt actually finds the guy who Victor saved. He tries to convince him to be a witness, and then he knows that actually in that moment that the cops are coming to kill this guy so that he cannot be a witness, which is just terrible. And
Yep.
then the cops beat the shit out of a blind man. Matt Murdock, which we know, the audience knows is Daredevil and could knock them out if he so choose.
Yeah.
But these cops don't know that about Matt Murdock. They just know him to be a blind man, and they beat him up. Hate them.
Yeah. Not good. Not good.
So that brings us to episode 6.
3.
I don't know. I wrote down episode
Kelsey's been
6.
watching ahead, so any predictions she makes, be wary.
No, I'm so sorry. I don't even know how. It
Foggy
literally says
returns.
no, no. And he's
Um,
back. No,
was the
episode
episode
3.
titled something after like 6 or something? No,
No, The Hollow of His Hands. Also,
not at
episode.
all.
Sorry, I didn't say the episode titles. I usually do that. Episode
Hmm.
1 was Heaven's Half Hour. Episode 2 was Optics.
I have a
Also, in
problem
episode
with
2,
the title.
we see Wilson Fisk, doing his mayor duties, but he's taken advantage of the system immediately because he threatens the chief of police with cutting their budget if he doesn't cooperate with him. Um, and so we already know that he's back on his bullshit.
Hmm.
And so episode 3, the trial unfolds. Okay, we have this sneaky little gotcha moment with the witness where we think that the cops stopped him and they're about to sabotage the whole witness thing, but
Mhm.
turns out he was in a taxi cab. He's already at the courthouse. Too bad the little bugger turns on us. This bozo turns on Matt and Kirsten, and he lies on the stand and says, "Nope, I wasn't there. I have no idea what you're talking about." So then they have to withdraw the witness. So, as a
Mhm.
Hail Mary pass, Matt, who originally didn't want anyone knowing that Hector was the White Tiger, reveals to the jury and the court that he has been this vigilante to the White Tiger. He has a few people come up give testimony about the good deeds that he had been doing, and they end up winning the case and he gets acquitted. But Matt did tell him, you cannot take on the identity of White Tiger anymore. You have
No,
to let that go. And what
and
does
we
he
knew
do?
where that was going. Yeah,
First thing he does, free on the streets. He's back in that tiger costume,
yeah.
baby.
Which surprised me because I thought this whole series, I think also because a lot of the marketing was focused around White Tiger, probably because it's a cool look, but also like the actor had
Hmm.
passed, so they were trying to like give him his due. But also like I just assumed he was going to be like the main, like kind of second in command all season. Like it was going to be almost like a team up. But honestly, I appreciate that because this at least like I feel like I've gotten a full arc of this character. I feel like the journey has
Hmm.
been complete, his purpose has been served, and now he's getting killed, and it's like whoa, shocker. I'm fine with
Yeah.
that. Like that I like. The Foggy Karen stuff bullshit is bullshit. But like that I actually like because it feels like
Hmm.
it was a justified piece. It's gonna actually mean something going forward. It helped bring in someone else.
Hmm.
It just didn't feel just there for a plot device. It's not like they built up this entire character and his whole arc and his whole trial just to introduce Punisher. No, it just this is a great way to introduce him, but it's also a way to fulfill an arc. This is how you do it. This is how you do a shocker fake out death. I really thought this took me by surprise though. I was shocked, and then especially what we saw afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, he gets shot down by Punisher. This was the episode too that I had mentioned. I wrote down Punisher skulls everywhere question mark because I saw one
The
graffitied on the
tattoos,
wall, the
yeah,
tattoo on the cop's wrist. My problem with this though is not that Punisher is coming back because Live Laugh Love John Bernthal.
yeah.
Love
Best
him.
part of that first series, like season 2, is my favorite because of him. Yeah,
Yeah, 100%. I thought the Punisher only went after people doing bad things, where it sounds like White Tiger was helping everybody.
well, that's where I'm excited to find out why because I really do
Yeah.
think that there's probably more to it. Maybe he knew the cop who died. Maybe Fisk made some deal with him because it seems like this is Fisk's doing. I had to imagine
Right,
Fisk is
because
not
it
happy with how it went.
it it was happening simultaneously when Fisk was giving that whole like final monologue at the end of the scene where he's like, no, like this is why like the system needs to do it and these vigilantes need to be taken off the street because the incorrect choices get made and his time will come. And then like as soon as he says that, boom, gun gunshot to the head,
Mhm.
Punisher reveal.
Yeah, and it feels like this whole time it's like this is where I'm finally like, no, it's the same old Fisk because it's clear he wants
Mm,
his sink his teeth into the cops, It's why
Yeah.
he threatens the cops that try to leave because he doesn't want the cops speaking out. Because if he can control the cops, he can kind of control the authority in the town. And
Yeah.
you know what? Oh, this cop who got murdered. If we can frame this other guy, then no one's going to trust the vigilantes. No one's going to trust Daredevil. But now that he's safe, he's not guilty. Now people are like, oh, these vigilantes, maybe they are good, and maybe the cops are not to be trusted. And if the cops aren't to be trusted, Fisk is not to be trusted. So it's like this really cool like web of lies and circle of
Yeah.
life type deal, which is what I like about it. Because now I'm like, okay, no, Fisk's his intentions are bad, but then I'm also like, maybe he is going through marital problems. Maybe he's just a guy. And
Mm.
I love how layered that character and that story arc are. I'm glad it wasn't the whole series focused on this one court case, which I thought it might be.
Mm.
I'm glad that this opens the door for even more avenues. But I do think like I did really enjoy that storyline. I really enjoyed the stuff with Matt and the therapist so far. I really enjoyed the Fisk Mayor stuff. Like I think all the storylines are really solid. The only thing I don't love is the first half of the first episode, which is also
Yeah.
called Heaven's Half Hour, but it's an hour long episode. What the fuck? But like, I really do think like it's really interesting. Like, I'm in it. Like, I'm excited for it. And this is
Mhm.
like the first time we've actually covered Daredevil where like new episodes are coming out as we're covering it, even though it's kind of finished. But it's like we don't have years and years of like public reception to go off of. Like, we're just kind of going in as blind as possible, which I love.
Yeah.
It's been great. Yeah.
Dill, what do you think about the moments in the episodes that kind of cut to the BB report shots where they're like interviewing different people and people are kind of giving their testimonies about like Daredevil? I haven't heard that name in years.
It's interesting. It's again like the painting the portrait of the city thing.
Yeah.
The only thing is they don't feel like real people. Like it feels like actors acting at times.
Yeah,
Whereas like I feel
yeah.
like for the Avengers ones, like when it's like Stan Lee and shit, it's always just like no, those are like real people. But here I was like,
Mhm.
it's act like some of them were acting a little hard, but it's like they're one moment in the
Yeah.
spotlight. So if I booked a role, who knows how I would act. But
Yeah.
it's cool. It's cool to just get more people in on it. Just paint a bigger picture of the city because that's such a big part of this character.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm wondering what like where this whole arc is going to go for this young girl who's turning into this like, she's this aspiring reporter who Wilson Fisk even says like, "Oh, she feels like she has a lot to prove. Like we can use that to our advantage." So he's
Mhm.
just always looking for the opportunity to like kind of manipulate someone. And I'm
Yeah.
like wondering is she going to like be team Fisk and like start working for him? Like, or is she going to like kind of like use him to like get the tea and then like on behind his back be like
You're talking about
this
the reporter girl?
the reporter girl.
I see. At first, I thought she was purely there for exposition to like help
Mm,
make things clear that might have not been clear. But yeah, I would love to see her character just become more involved and see them
yeah.
envelop on it a little bit more. Yeah,
Well, it seems like she's going to be more involved with it because he keeps calling her back in to do interviews. So I
right.
wonder if he's going to start using her as his kind of like source for the
Right. I mean,
to
it's the
get his
same thing
word
with
out.
Michael Gandolfini too. It's like you're taking advantage of the youth in that sense,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is honestly his thing. If this is the MCU version, it's what he also did with Echo with Maya. It's
Mm,
also what he tried to
mhm.
do with Kate Bishop. Like I feel like that's his thing. He tries to really prey on the young, which adds another level of depth and villainy to him. Like I really love the characterization of Kingpin in this. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Very curious. What do you think Punisher's like motive is? Do you think he's working for Fisk? Do you think he's independent? What do you think his whole deal is?
I would be very surprised if he was working for Fisk. I feel like the only way he would be if Fisk threatened him with something like, something crazy.
Yeah.
Um, but because he just seems like his own agent. Like even when we saw him back in season 2, like he was on his own agenda. He
Right.
wasn't working for anybody.
Yeah, I'm just wondering why target White Tiger,
Yeah.
unless there's something we don't know. But it's
I'm
also
hope
like they spent so much time trying to humanize this character and show that he's a good guy. So
Yeah, I
I
know.
don't know, but I'm
I'm
curious.
hoping that him and Matt aren't enemies in any way because we've already seen that happen. I hope
Yeah,
that there's like a team up situation that can happen where they both have a common threat. Um, but I guess we'll have to wait and see in episodes 4, 5, and 6.
absolutely. Great discussion though. Like, I mean, I feel like we still covered a lot of stuff, even though we didn't go beat by beat. But I am a fan of this. I think it's
Yeah.
exciting to just have more new Daredevil. I like the new characters. I obviously miss the old ones, obviously, but I'm not like hell bent that they're not in it. I just wish they had written them out in a better way.
Yeah.
But let's not harp on that anymore in the future. Hopefully, we'll be able to just turn a new leaf or whatever the phrase is. But fan of this so far, though, Kelsey? Where are you in terms of like Netflix and then Disney Plus? Is this like a highlight of one
Mm.
week or the other? Because it's not quite on the level of the Netflix series, I don't think yet, but I'm liking it. I think it's
Y-
better than some of the Disney Plus things we've gotten recently.
I think it's definitely better than some of the Disney Plus things we've gotten. It's not on par with what we got from Netflix because I raved about that television
Yeah.
series. I was
Yeah.
really I was really into Daredevil on Netflix.
Mm.
I actually really want to go back and finish watching all the other Netflix Marvel shows as well.
Yeah. I was gonna say we can save it for our podcast, or if you want to just do it, you can. But I'm also thinking like while I'm on the cruise, that might be a fun thing because I will have long hours overseas to watch some stuff. Maybe we make that our project over the next year. Like try to
Yeah.
watch Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron
Yeah.
Fist.
Um, Punisher, he has his own
Punisher,
show.
yes, that's right.
Don't
We'll have to look at
forget.
the timeline and try to see. The Agents of Shield is the only one that's such a time commitment. Maybe we just kind of dismiss that one, but
Yeah.
yeah, but we do like the Netflix proper ones, and we'll
Yeah.
find time. So maybe that'll be our like project after the summer because just to give you all a tip into what's happening next. I mean, we'll obviously finish out this series in June. By the time Fantastic Four comes out in July, we're gonna have Thunderbolts come up in some point in May. Because we now only do 2 episodes a month. We're gonna get some trivia eventually. We also have it is gonna be the retrospective. I'm gonna do it on a boat. We're gonna try maybe not commentaries. We've been doing commentaries for all the retrospective movies. It might be hard to get 2.5 to 3 hours with the two of us to do Ant-Man and Age of Ultron, but if we
Mm,
can, we will. And if we can't, maybe just like a retrospective review, or maybe like Kelsey will do a commentary for one, I'll do a commentary for another, and then we'll do an episode where we review them both together, maybe as just like a
mm.
retrospective. That might be fun to do. I'm trying to think if there's anything else 2015 Marvel wise that came out, or if it's just the two MCUs. I don't know if there was an X-Men that came out that year, but 2015 Kelsey trivia brain. Any other things that year, that month? I don't know. Well, we'll
You
check it out
know,
after, but
I
um, unless you could pull it off your brain right now. But yeah, 2015 retrospective is coming over the summer. I'm going to try kind of make it a big summer long event because I'm going to have to be on a boat. So I'm not going to be able to watch a movie every day, but I'm going to just try to watch a bunch of 2015 movies over the summer. And then getting into the fall, maybe we really prioritize like Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, all those shows. That could be a fun project. Just take a break from the first Avenger files and stuff. But does that feel good, Kels? Does that sound good?
um the Fantastic Four with Miles Tellers
Mm.
that year.
Yeah,
But
we've
we
already
already
covered an
talked about
episode on
that.
that. Yeah, we're good. We're good. We could bring it
Um
up briefly. Maybe I'll rewatch it for the new one to see, but we don't need to cover it on its own pod anymore. Yeah, we already did that. Thank God.
no. I thought for a second that maybe that was the year X-Men Apocalypse came out, but that was 2016.
Eight. Oh, it's 16. Okay, so that'll
Yeah.
be next year's retrospective. But yeah, that's it for me. Find me at Dylan_Randazzo. Otherwise, you may see me next time in my apartment. You may see me in the business center where we did the last one. You may see me here back in the bathroom. Who knows? Kels, we're gonna find you. What else is new with you? Anything to tease? Anything to plug? How's it going?
You can find me at Kelsey A. Kilp on Letterbox. I've been trying to get out to the movies, but as I've said at the beginning, this is a very busy year for me and Dill.
I was gonna
Um,
say we didn't check in. What was the best thing you watched this month?
oh,
Any new releases?
I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard really good things, and I really want to see Sinners.
It's fantastic. I did see it. It's
I
great.
saw, but I saw Drop, and I had a good time at that.
Oh, okay. Cool.
I had
Cool.
a pretty good time. But I really, really want to see Sinners. That will,
Yeah,
if I
I think
can
you'll.
make it in the next 3 days before April ends, that will be my best watch of April, probably.
Yes, I think you'll love that. If you can get to it before Thursday, it's still an IMAX. But if not, see it any
Mm,
way you can. See it in
yeah.
the theater though, because the sound. Usually, I'm all for theaters for the visuals, but the sound is necessary. It is the best sound of the year. I don't think anything's going to top it. Is it my favorite Ryan Coogler? I don't know. Creed exists, but we know we're big fans
Mm.
of Ryan Coogler from Black Panther too on the series. So I think you're going to really like that. I really liked it as well. If I have time to make a review, I might, but everyone else has said so many great things that I might not be able to with my fried brain, and also being a white person. I just can't speak on the deeper level themes as accurately as some others can. So, but check out a lot of
Sure.
black critics out there are doing such great pieces on Sinners. Like it's one of those movies that's going to be talked about, like Get Out was,
Mm.
for like the black experience for time to come with this like horror genre tinge to it. So definitely check it out. So that's definitely the best thing I watched this week. So I'm glad you mentioned it.
Mhm.
Cool, Kels. Anything else?
That's it for me. I'm ready for bed.
All right, let's go to bed. We'll see y'all next time for our Thunderbolts review, and then back next month for our Daredevil episodes. What is it, 4 through 6, and then 7 through 9. Otherwise, stay cool and stay gold, Pony Boy.